There is a hauntingly familiar feeling, isn't there? That moment at the end of the month when you stare at the numbers on the screen and an unspoken question echoes in your mind. Where has all my money gone? The paycheck still arrives on time, the fruit of your hard work, yet it seems to have legs of its own, slipping away quietly, vanishing like mist before you even realize it. We live caught in an endless cycle, earning money, then worrying about money. But here is something remarkable. In one of the most expensive countries in the world, where a few apples can cost more than a hearty meal, millions of Japanese live with an astonishing sense of ease. They do not need enormous salaries. They do not chase glittering luxuries. Instead, they hold something far more precious, a silent financial freedom, a peaceful feeling of enough, a beautiful paradox. So, what is their secret? How can they feel wealthy even while living in apartments no larger than a few dozen square meters? The secret is not in how much they earn, but in how they engage with every single yen they have. It is an art form, a delicate dance between needs and wants, between the present moment and the future. Today we will not discuss complicated financial theories. Instead, I want to open with you 7 small doors, 7 quiet paths walked by the Japanese for generations. These are not rigid rules, but gentle suggestions, so simple you could begin tonight with just a pen and a notebook. Together, let us step into this journey to discover how we can feel richer, not by having more, but by needing less. 1. Kakeibo. In a world of complex financial apps, sleek graphs, and tangled Excel matrices, would you believe that the most effective financial tool the Japanese use can fit right in the palm of your hand? And no, it is not a smartphone. It is a pen. Yes, you heard that right. A simple pen and a notebook. A method so humble it feels almost primitive, born back in 1904, carrying a name as unassuming as its form. Kakeibo, the household account book. At first glance, it may sound like a relic of the past. But why, more than a century later, do millions of Japanese still bend over their notebooks each evening instead of swiping through their screens? Because Kakeibo has never been just a tool. It is a ritual, a quiet dialogue with oneself, spoken through every yen that leaves your hand. It is not about the numbers alone. It is about the emotions hidden behind them. Kakeibo does not rush to ask how much you have spent. Instead, it gently pauses you right at the threshold of a purchase and whispers, "Do you truly need this?" Then, after the bill is paid and the item is brought home, it asks again, "Did this truly bring you joy?" Just 2 simple questions. But repeated daily, written in your own hand, they begin to reshape your mind. They become a filter, forcing you to confront each impulse, each fleeting desire, every line crossed out, every number written down. It is not just accounting. It is a moment of self-awareness. You begin to see money not as an enemy to be controlled, but as a companion reflecting your deepest values. So, how does this mindful journey begin? Very simply, find a notebook you truly love, one that brings you peace each time you touch it. On the first page of each month, draw 4 columns. Your income, your unavoidable fixed expenses, your flexible spending, and most importantly, your savings goal. Let us say your paycheck has just arrived. Do not start by thinking what you will buy or where you will eat. Instead, pick up your pen and fill in the savings goal first. That number, whether 10% or 20% of your income, is the promise you make to your future self. It is the act of paying yourself first, a shift of profound power. That money is set aside, safe, before the temptations of daily life can knock at your door. Do you see? The logic is reversed. Instead of waiting nervously to see what is left at the end of the month, you carve out a safe boundary for your spending from the start. It is the difference between drifting helplessly and steering your own financial ship. And to make the journey even more meaningful, do not just write words. Turn your notebook into a garden of symbols, a drop of water for the water bill, a leaf for groceries, a tiny coffee cup for cafe outings. At the end of the month, flipping through your pages, the garden will tell you a story. The symbols that appear most often reveal the well-worn paths of your habits, the silent enemies that are quietly draining your wallet without you noticing. The Japanese call this the ink of awareness. For when you draw it with your own hands, those invisible leaks in your spending suddenly become visible, undeniable. A single drop of ink can outline an entire ocean of habit. But Kakeibo does not stop at recording. Its greatest gift lies in those quiet moments at the end of each month. When you brew a pot of tea, sit down with your notebook and truly reflect. Did I stay on track? Were there expenses I regret? What can I do better next month? This process of self-questioning transforms financial management from a burden into a sharpened skill, an art of living. Like the story of a family in Osaka who discovered that their daily takeaway coffees and casual convenience store snacks, seemingly harmless, were costing them enough each year to fund a family vacation. Kakeibo did not take anything away from them. On the contrary, it gave them something priceless, the power of conscious choice. It turned lifeless numbers into profound lessons, allowing them to reclaim control and to feel wealthier not because they had more money, but because they understood the value of every yen they already had. 2. Mottainai. Have you ever heard a single word that carries within it a sense of regret, a deep reverence, and a gentle reminder all at once? In Japanese, there is such a word, Mottainai. It is often translated as waste, but its true meaning runs far deeper. Mottainai is not a judgment, it is a sigh, a quiet ache of regret at seeing the inherent value of something cast aside while it still has more to give. This feeling is planted in the soul of Japanese children from the earliest days. Do not throw away the last grain of rice in your bowl, for it carries the sweat of the farmer. Use both sides of the paper, for it once belonged to a forest. This sense of mottainai is not merely a moral lesson. It is an undercurrent that shapes the way they perceive the world, from the smallest details to the way they treat their own paycheck. And when that current flows into their financial lives, it creates a quiet strength. It is not stinginess, it is discernment. A software engineer in Tokyo once shared that he had been tempted to buy the latest wireless headphones, not because his old pair was broken, but because everyone was using them. Yet at that moment, the word mottainai whispered softly in his mind. Regret stirred within him. Regret for an electronic device that still worked perfectly. Regret for the Earth's resources consumed to produce it. Regret for the hours of his own labor about to be traded away. Instead of pressing buy now, he chose to replace the battery in his old headphones. The cost was only a fraction, but what he gained was much greater. The calm of knowing he had not discarded a faithful companion still serving him well. And the powerful sense of enough in the face of endless consumer temptation. That action did not just protect his wallet, it rescued his spirit from the guilt of waste. So, how can you invite the voice of Mottainai into your own life, right at the checkout counter? Try this simple ritual. Before you swipe your card, before the numbers flicker on the screen, pause, close your eyes and whisper Mottainai 3 times. It may sound unusual, but this act creates a sacred silence. Like a mindfulness bell, it pulls you out of the trance of emotional spending, buying out of boredom, buying for a discount, buying to imitate someone else. That pause gives reason a chance to ask, do I truly need this? Or do I simply want it? How long will the joy last after I pay? Mottainai becomes your emotional compass, guiding you to distinguish between genuine needs and fleeting desires. To carve this philosophy into her subconscious, a young designer in Kyoto did something remarkable. She set her phone wallpaper to an image of plastic waste floating in the ocean. Each time she unlocked her screen, it was not a negative reminder, but a silent covenant with the earth and with her financial future. That image became the embodiment of Mottainai in the modern world. It gave her the strength to refuse plastic bags, to reuse glass jars, and most importantly, to choose quality over quantity in every purchase. She realized that wealth does not lie in owning more, but in needing less. By doing so, she not only saved money, but also freed her living space and her mind from the clutter of the unnecessary. At its core, Mottainai is about honoring the full life cycle of things. The Japanese do not seek cheap, disposable objects. They seek companions. A hand-stitched coat can keep you warm for a decade. A good set of kitchen knives can be passed down to the next generation. The initial investment in quality may give you pause, but it liberates you from the endless cycle of repair and replacement. It saves money in the long run, but more than that, it nurtures a sense of lasting satisfaction. When you own fewer things, but each one is a masterpiece, you will feel richer than anyone living in a room overflowing with the temporary. Mottainai, in the end, is not a trick for saving money. It is a pathway to sufficiency, a way of saying thank you to the world and of living a life with fewer regrets. 3. The envelope method. In a world where money has become nothing more than invisible numbers gliding across a screen, where a single tap can dissolve an entire day's labor, does anyone still remember the true feeling of money? The Japanese do. They practice a method so humble, it feels almost like an act of quiet rebellion against the convenience of the digital age. They use envelopes. Yes, simple paper envelopes, called Kaku-bukuro. And you might be surprised to learn that this very outdated method has become one of their most powerful financial tools, helping them preserve control and peace of mind. The moment payday arrives, a ritual begins. A portion of cash is withdrawn and divided into its rightful homes. One envelope for food, one for transportation, one for entertainment, one for emergencies, and one sacred envelope for the future. Each envelope receives exactly what it deserves, no more, no less. The strength of Kaku-bukuro lies not in complexity, but in its physicality. Money is no longer an abstract concept. You can feel it. You can see it shrinking. When you open the entertainment envelope and find it empty, it is not a notification on your phone. It is a truth resting in the palm of your hand. It says, "That is enough. Rest now." There is no cheating, no borrowing from the rent envelope just to watch a movie. Each envelope is a promise, and keeping that promise trains you to build an invaluable muscle, the muscle of discipline. But how can the spirit of Kaku-bukuro survive in a cashless world? The Japanese, with their innate sense of subtlety, have found a way to let the soul of the envelope live inside the machine. They have digitized the ritual. Instead of physical envelopes, they create virtual wallets, sub-accounts within their banking apps, one for morning coffee, one for weekend shopping. And when the balance in your coffee wallet hits zero, your card will simply refuse to pay for the next latte. Technology, once a temptation, becomes your guardian of discipline. It merges the convenience of the present with the wisdom of the past, creating an automatic system that keeps you on track. The sense of control this method brings is profound. It erases that vague anxiety of not knowing where the money went. Everything becomes clear, transparent, like the story of a Japanese streamer who broke into tears holding his savings envelope. Inside was 1 million yen, the fruit of 14 months of persistence. His secret was not a miracle, but a small, repeated act. Each day he forgot 500 yen, a tiny amount spared from unnecessary spending, and slipped it into the envelope. 500 yen a day may seem like nothing, but time and consistency turn those drops into an ocean. His story proves a profound truth. Discipline is the bridge between goals and reality. And this method is not just for managing daily expenses. It is also a powerful tool for turning dreams into reality. Do you want a trip to Europe? Create an envelope named Paris. Do you want a new camera? Create an envelope called Art. Each month, feed these envelopes with a small amount. Watching them thicken little by little creates a motivation stronger than any pep talk. It transforms distant goals into tangible journeys, breaking down the big road into thousands of small, steady steps. Kaku-bukuro is not merely a money management trick. It is an art of life design, teaching us that any dream can come true, as long as we build it one envelope at a time. 4. The 1-year rule. Have you ever stood in the middle of your room and felt suffocated? Not because the space was small, but because of the invisible weight of silent, unused things. Japanese organizing expert Marie Kondo touched millions of hearts when she said that if an item no longer brings you joy, it is time to let it go. But the Japanese go even further. They apply a principle that is both profoundly practical and deeply financial, the 365-day rule. A rule so simple it seems almost strange, yet it holds a power of infinite liberation. It says this: if an object has sat in your home untouched for 365 days, its life cycle with you has ended. It is time to release it, and to release yourself. Take an honest look around your home. How many ghosts of the past are hiding there? The exercise machine you bought in a burst of New Year's enthusiasm, now silently gathering dust in a corner. Clothes still with their tags, waiting for a special occasion that never comes. Souvenirs you kept out of guilt, but never once truly looked at. They do not only take up physical space, they gnaw away at your mental space. Each unused item is an invisible debt. You paid for them, but they give you nothing back, not function, not joy. They are forgotten promises, frozen potential, and every day they quietly drain your energy. That is why applying the 365-day rule is not just about tidying. It is a ritual of repaying a debt to your soul. When you decide to sell or give away those items, something magical happens. You do not just reclaim some money, whether small or large. You reclaim space to breathe. You reclaim lightness. And the Japanese do not use the money earned from these ghosts to fill their homes with more things. They transform it into fuel for their dreams. They place it in an envelope marked children's education or dream trip. Tidying, once a tiresome chore, suddenly becomes a positive step toward making your goals real. The story of a couple in Fukuoka is a vivid example. They set aside one weekend to face their invisible debts. To their shock, they discovered 37 handbags and backpacks, nearly all unused, lying quietly in their closet. After photographing them, selling them online, and bringing some to secondhand shops, they received 180,000 yen, enough to cover their child's school tuition. The wife shared, "When those bags left, I did not feel a loss. I felt as if I had finally repaid a heavy debt inside my heart." Their home became more spacious, and so did their minds. They realized that true wealth is not possession. It is freedom from what you do not need. But the real power of the 1-year rule goes even further than decluttering. It forever changes the way you shop. It plants an invisible guardian right at the threshold of your decisions. When you are about to buy something new, that guardian gently asks, "Will you still use me 365 days from now?" That question forces you to pause, to draw a clear line between need and want. You begin to choose items that last, that truly serve your life, that harmonize with who you are. In the end, decluttering is not about the house, it is about the mind. Letting go of the past is the best way to welcome the future. By freeing yourself from the weight of possessions, you create space for a life that is lighter, more meaningful, and rich in a way money could never buy. 5. Bento. In the hurried rhythm of big city life, lunch is often a race against the clock, a quick transaction at a convenience store. But in Japan, there exists a pause in the middle of the chaos. It is the moment when a small box is opened, revealing an entire miniature world inside. Pearly white rice, glistening grilled salmon, fresh green broccoli, and a slice of carrot carved into the shape of a flower. This is bento. But did you know? Behind its graceful, artful appearance, each bento is also a silent money printing machine, a financial strategy disguised as an act of love. Let us do a little math of mindfulness. A modest lunch outside can cost you quite a bit. But if you prepare your own bento with fresh ingredients, the cost is cut by more than half. You might think, what difference do a few coins make each day? But the Japanese understand the power of accumulation. 550 yen saved each day, multiplied by 22 working days, becomes more than 12,000 yen a month. That is enough to pay a bill, buy a good book, or simply add to a savings fund for bigger dreams. Imagine having extra money in your hands every month, not by working harder, but simply by eating more consciously. That is not magic. It is the sweet result of a mindful choice. Perhaps you will say, "I do not have the time." But the Japanese secret does not lie in waking up earlier. It lies in preparing smarter. Many people dedicate a few hours on Sunday evening, turning their kitchens into tiny art studios. They cook a big pot of rice, prepare some savory dishes, and boil vegetables. Everything is then divided into small containers, ready for the entire work week. Some dishes are stored in the freezer, waiting for their turn to shine. In the morning, instead of rushing, they need only a few minutes to arrange their bento. Sometimes, even a couple of simple onigiri rice balls are enough to create a satisfying lunch. This preparation is not a burden. It is an investment. You invest a little weekend time to buy peace and freedom for the week ahead. And the value of bento goes far beyond numbers. When you prepare your own meals, you hold complete control over your health. You know every ingredient, every drop of seasoning. More than that, bento shields you from unnecessary temptations of eating out. The sugary drink, the dessert, the unhealthy snacks. Each bento is a declaration of self-mastery. And there is something else. The slow, deliberate act of arranging food into a box is a form of meditation, a way of connecting more deeply with your food and with your own body. There is a story of a young engineer in Tokyo that has inspired many. He challenged himself with 100 days of bento. For 100 consecutive workdays, he prepared his own lunch. At the end, he calculated the money saved and used it entirely to enroll in an advanced design course. That new skill not only improved his work, but also earned him a significant raise. He said, "The bento did not just feed my body, it nourished my skills and my future." His story shows us that today's small act of discipline is tomorrow's seed of freedom. Each lunchbox you carry does not just hold food. It holds discipline, care, and dreams being quietly nurtured, one day at a time. 6. Investing in experiences. We live in a world obsessed with possessions. A newly released phone, a limited edition handbag, a gleaming piece of technology. They promise happiness, yet the joy they bring often fades as quickly as a summer rain. But what if there were a kind of wealth that never loses value, never goes out of style, and only grows richer with time? The Japanese call this experiences. They hold a deep belief that instead of filling your home with objects, you should fill your life with memories. Because when everything else fades, what remains in the heart becomes your most precious treasure. Why is a trip to admire the crimson autumn leaves in Kyoto, or a quiet tea ceremony lesson, cherished more deeply than a luxury item? Because material things invite comparison, while experiences invite connection. Research has shown that the happiness we gain from spending on experiences is many times greater than from purchasing possessions. The thrill of something new dulls quickly in the endless churn of newer, better versions. But the memory of watching the sunset atop Mount Fuji, that stays with you forever. It becomes part of your story, a diamond in your soul that time only polishes brighter. You cannot flaunt it, but you can share it. And when shared, its value does not diminish, it multiplies. So, how do we turn this beautiful philosophy into a practical financial plan? The Japanese have a simple, tangible method, the 5% Experience Fund. Each time you receive your paycheck, set aside 5% into a separate account, a sacred little home that you can name with inspiration. Adventure Fund, Soul Nourishment Fund. This money is untouchable. It is not for bills, not for shopping. It serves one purpose only, to invest in the bank of your memories. When the fund grows large enough, use it to do something your heart longs for. Perhaps a pottery class, a train ride to an unfamiliar town, or simply a ticket to a concert you have always wanted to attend. There is a moving story of a mother in the suburbs of Tokyo. She never owned a luxury handbag. Instead, she used that money to create a legacy of memories for her children. Every year, she dipped into the Experience Fund to take them camping in a different prefecture. Together, they climbed mountains, waded through streams, and gazed at starry skies far away from city lights. She said, "My children may never remember the name of a fashion brand, but they remember the name of every mountain we climbed and the shape of every constellation we saw. That is the true wealth I want to give them." Her story reveals a simple truth. Our greatest assets are not what we own, but what we have lived. And investing in experiences does not have to mean costly travel. It can be found in the small acts that nourish the soul each day. An afternoon stroll in the park, treating yourself to an art exhibition, sitting in your favorite cafe, unhurried, just to finish a book. The goal is to create moments that make you feel truly alive, not merely existing. Because a rich life is not measured by the balance in your bank account, but by the richness of the stories you can tell, the lessons you have learned, and the memories that make you smile when you look back. 7. Pay yourself first. We have walked through 6 paths, 6 subtle philosophies of living, but all of them rest upon one foundational principle, a simple action that holds the power to transform an entire life. Let us be honest with each other. How many times have we told ourselves, "This month I will save," only to sigh at the end of the month as we look at the tiny number left behind? Intention and action are often separated by a great distance, interrupted by countless temptations. The Japanese understand this well, and instead of relying on fragile willpower, they rely on a system, a quiet automatic system called Jido Chokin. Its principle completely flips conventional logic. Do not save what is left after spending. Spend what is left after saving. This action is called paying yourself first. The moment the ping of payday arrives, often on the 25th of the month, a different current automatically flows. A portion of your income, perhaps 20% or 30%, is silently transferred into a separate savings account. A sacred space, untouchable. The magic of Jido Chokin lies in this. It removes you from the equation. No hesitation, no inner struggle. Saving is no longer a choice. It becomes the default, as natural as breathing. That money disappears before your eyes ever meet it, before your mind has a chance to plan how to spend it. To your everyday consciousness, that sum does not even exist. It is living a different life, quietly multiplying for your future. The greatest benefit this method brings is not money. It is peace. It frees you from the exhausting tug of war with yourself. No more guilt over buying a good cup of coffee. No more second guessing when you treat yourself to a nice dinner. Because you know the most important obligation, the obligation to your own future, has already been fulfilled automatically. What remains in your account is yours to enjoy fully, in serenity, knowing you are living within your means without harming your long-term goals. It is an extraordinary sense of freedom. The story of a young woman who had just graduated in Tokyo is a living testament to this truth. With her very first paycheck, instead of celebrating with a luxury item, the first thing she did was walk into a bank and set up Jido Chokin, automatically transferring 25% of her income into savings. She chose to live on the remaining 75%, renting a small apartment, cycling to work, and cooking her own meals. Her life may not have been lavish, but it was fully under her control. And then, something miraculous happened after 4 years. 4 years of silent automatic streams. That young woman had saved enough to put a down payment on her very first apartment, a milestone many spend decades chasing. She shared, "I never felt deprived. I only felt as though I was sending a letter to my future, and each month I added a little more love into that letter. The sense of safety that came from watching my savings grow, that was a joy no luxury item could ever compare to." In the end, Jido Chokin teaches us a profound lesson. Financial freedom is not about having more money to spend. It is about building a life where money is no longer a constant worry. By automating the care of your future, you gift your present self something priceless. The peace of mind to live a conscious, wholehearted, and truly wealthy life. It is not just a financial trick. It is an act of self-love, a steadfast promise to the future you deserve. And so, our journey arrives at a pause. The 7 small paths we have just walked are not rigid formulas, but gentle invitations. Invitations to look again at your relationship with the money you earn, not with worry, but with gratitude. The feeling of true wealth does not spring from a massive paycheck. It takes root in small, conscious choices, in choosing to nurture your future rather than indulge fleeting desires. It is the peace that comes from knowing you are already living in abundance, right here, right now. Do not rush. Do not try to change everything overnight. Listen closely. Among those 7 invitations, which one is whispering to you most tenderly? Perhaps it is something as simple as preparing a bento box for tomorrow, a small act of care. Or perhaps it is opening an automatic savings account, a love letter written to your future self. Choose one seed and plant it in your own garden this week, because one small action, practiced with your whole heart, is worth more than 1,000 promises. If you feel ready, share that very first seed below. Each comment will be a source of inspiration, reminding us that we are not walking this path alone. And if today's conversation has brought you a moment of calm, consider the like and subscribe buttons as a way to keep us connected, to keep exploring more paths to peace together. Stay with me on this journey. I wish you a tranquil road ahead, and I wish you soon the deep joy of feeling truly wealthy.